Hello again, YouTube. As always, first off, I do apologize for shoddy lighting, shoddy camera angles. My only setup's a cell phone, and it's sitting on a chair, so that aside, this is a continuation video. A while back I made a few videos on knife defense, unarmed self-defense against knives, which I called self-defense against knives will get you killed. And this is a subject I feel quite strongly about, which is why I was very happy that a lot of people seem to have watched them and actually commented on them. And because I feel so strongly about this subject, I'm going to request that if you haven't seen them, please go to my channel and check them out. And just see what you think. Some people, a lot of people actually seem to have agreed with what I said. I got a lot of positive comments about those videos. And some people disagreed, but they were very intelligent. We had some good conversations on the issues, and of course we had a few people who didn't seem to care to debate. They just wanted to talk shit, which happens on all videos on YouTube, so that can be ignored. And the reason I'm making this video is one gentleman did post a few comments where he seemed to partially disagree with what I was saying, where he seems to agree that there's a lot of problems with knife defense, but he's not as adamant as I am on the issue that it's impossible that it will get you killed. I am very adamant on the knife issue. I will always fall back to the default of, you get into a fight with a knife, you're going to die, don't do it. Obviously there are some exceptions, but as a general rule I don't entertain the thought. I don't play that game of what if, hypothetically, maybe this technique will work, maybe it won't. I'm flat out, this is a gun, don't do it. But the gentleman was very, very polite. He didn't flat out call bullshit, say you're full of shit. He pretty much seems to, he invited me to entertain the concept. He has a channel where he makes videos on knife defense, and I'm gonna send him a message and ask him if he's okay with me linking his channel and his videos. I'm sure he is, because he posted some links to his videos himself, but I'll just ask his permission, and maybe we might get a back and forth going here, which is what I think he was hoping to get. So I'm going to offer my input on this, and maybe he'll reply, and maybe we'll see what we both get out of this. So the videos I made I made two sit-down videos like this one, and then I made one where I actually demonstrated some of the concepts and techniques with knives with my brother. And I'm going to make another video with my brother showing more of the techniques that I'm going to talk about in this video in response to the gentleman's query. So in my previous videos, it was a very broad subject. I discussed the physical aspect of knife fights and the psychological and behavioral aspect and how people act and what's what. This video is going to be much more focused. It's going to focus on the mugging situation, which I touched upon briefly before, and that's the classic guys got a knife to your throat, give me your money. And because the video that this gentleman posted on the link to, it deals with 4 techniques, I'm only going to talk about a couple of them because they're more or less all about the same situation, which is knife to throat. And before I talk about the techniques, I prefer to talk more about concepts in this video and go about techniques in the demonstration video with my brother. So the thing I want to discuss is that I didn't touch upon very much in my previous videos, and that I've been trying actively to avoid, is going into specifics about techniques, especially the knife to throat. And the reason I did is because those are what I call hypotheticals. They are very, very variable. They are very versatile situations, dynamic situations that don't often go the way we expect them to go, which is what techniques require. All techniques depend on the bad guy doing one very specific thing and reacting in a very specific way. That's why I think they're so dangerous. Because they always, I mean, there's so many techniques, but you watch YouTube videos, they go, the guy's got the knife like this. If I do this, he's going to react like this, and then you can do this. It's a step-by-step process that depends entirely on the bad guy doing these things in a predictable fashion. Real life does not work that way. If you've ever been in a fight, you know it does not work that way. If you've ever been in combat, you especially know it does not work that way. Bad guys don't play the way we want them to play, and we don't play the way bad guys want to play either. We can't predict what they're going to do, and that's where we get into the issues of the mugging techniques and why they're so dangerous. You watch, for example, I'm just going to briefly describe the technique the gentleman described in his video, and I haven't practiced the technique. Maybe he's more familiar with it than I am, but if a guy has a knife to your throat here, and his other hand's holding your shoulder here, that's what was in the video. and then the gentleman brought his arm up from the inside and knocked it away and went on moving. Here's the problem. I mean, we've already made a fatal assumption here. Why do you assume that if a guy's going to rob you, he's going to do this? You know? Or this. Here's the fact of how muggings work. We have an idea in our heads, we love this idea, that there's going to be a standoff, that the bad guy's going to have the gun or the knife, and he's not going to hurt you, he's just going to threaten you. He's going to grab you, show the knife, show the gun, and then he's going to say, give me the money or I'm going to kill you. That is a very, very, very common assumption. You say a guy mugged me, we automatically assume it was that kind of situation. He held him, threatened him, asked for the money. Reality very rarely works that way, and here's why it's such a dangerous thought. The only time we ever hear of muggings or see videos of muggings, it's this is what we see. You want to know why that's all we see? Those guys, the guys who threaten you and don't hurt you, they're the exception, they're the incompetent ones. That's why we hear about them. They're the ones who fucked up. The vast majority of muggers, the vast majority of guys, you don't hear about them, because all you see in the news is man stabbed to death in alley. You don't see man got mugged and died. No, you just see body found. That's what happens with most muggings. That's what happens most of the time when a guy does this. Also on top of that, the other thing you're going to see is man beaten and in hospital after being robbed. That's what most muggings are. They're not, give me the money. They're, boom, clip, wallet. So I live in a pretty shitty area. I very rarely get into confrontation since my youth. I mean, I've had knives pulled on me when I was young and argued, but I was never mugged. I've never been robbed. I've never had a guy put a knife to my throat or a gun to my face. But I know guys who have. I don't mean they have been mugged, I mean they have mugged people. I live in that kind of area, and I've talked with a few of them, and some of them are very good guys. They went to prison, came out, they've got jobs now, they're decent people now, but they were some pretty fucked up people back then. And we've just had these discussions, and here's the thing. From what they've told me, and from a few guys I know who have been mugged, and this happened to them too, here's what usually happens when a person mugs you with a knife. He comes out of nowhere, grabs you, charging his body into you, and then fucking hits you, and he hits you hard. He will elbow you in the face, slap you in the face, push you into a wall, punch you a few times, then push the knife against your eyeball and go, don't fucking move, punch, shut the fuck up, pull you down to the ground, threaten with a knife. Now that you're hurt, bleeding, disorientated, now he's going to threaten you and ask you for the money. And here's the thing. Criminals very, very rarely like to give you the opportunity of possibly fighting back. That's why they don't do the standoff. Criminals like to have control of you, control of the situation. This is not control. When you're down on the ground with your nose broken, that's control. And that's what criminals want to do. They want to broadside you, catch you off guard, cripple you, and then start negotiating. So when we start talking techniques like this, we've already ignored the basic tenet that the bad guy might not do this. That's why it's so dangerous to work with these hypotheticals. And that's just a big concept. Let's get to the little concepts. Guy holds you like this. For some reason, in almost all these videos I see, the bad guy's always holding your shoulder. My natural tendency, I've never robbed someone, I'm not a criminal, but my instinctual tendency, I haven't been trained to do this, my natural tendency is to grab you by the back of the head. I don't want to go for your shoulder. I want to grab you by the back of your head and hold a knife to your throat. What the fuck are you going to do now when you're sandwiched between there? More details in these videos. We assume that the guy's going to draw the knife down like this. What if it goes this way? Back of the head. That way. What if he doesn't, what if the knife's fucking dull? He doesn't want to cut your throat at all. He just fucking does this and stabs you. And here's the other thing. Remember I mentioned the guys I know who are criminals, who've been in these kinds of fights? Here's what they told me when I had these conversations with them. They hate going for your throat. And I've noticed this too when I read reports of people stabbed in muggings. It's always stabbed. It's never cut throat. It's stabbed in the gut. You wanna know why that is? If I'm holding you like this, and all the techniques work like this, they bring the arm out to knock away the knife, or from the inside to knock away the knife. It's a lateral movement. Apparently, people's natural response with a knife is not to try and cut your throat before you can knock their arm away. It's to pull the knife down, away from the throat, to the gut, and stab. Your arm comes up to knock away the knife, he just goes down, chest, and you're dead. The other thing with these techniques is, once again, unfortunately, the gentleman who posted his link, the guy he was demonstrating it with, demonstrated the fallacy of knife defense I talked about, where his empty hand did nothing. It did nothing at all. He just hung it there while the guy worked with the arm. Here's the fact. I'm here, I'm holding your head, holding your shoulder, and you get a grip on my arm. Ta-da! Throat, back of head, grab, chokehold, everything else. They will always fight with this arm. Which is why it's so damn dangerous to grab the knife hand with both of your arms and try working some kind of elbow lock while leaving his empty hand perfectly exposed to break your nose and blind you so he can stab you. Third thing, back to the reflexes, the natural tendency. Remember I said I have a natural tendency to want to grab the back of your head to get that control over you? Here's my other natural tendency, and if you've ever been in a fight, or if you like fighting, if you spar, please let me know, comment, and let me know if you also do this, because I have this huge natural tendency, so does my brother, so does my friend, and I'm thinking it might be a universal instinct. And what that is that when my hand is out and some guy comes from the side, I have an instinct to draw my hand back and away from you. And I've noticed that in videos, they do these sweeping motions. Here's my knife hand, they sweep it and then do that lock thing. For that to work, the arm has to stay extended. My instinct, you start going to my arm, I pull it back and away from you. Right out of your reach. Screw your technique. I'm going to pull it back and then stab you. Last thing. Remember when I mentioned how criminals like to get the upper hand by beating the shit out of you and then going for your wallet? Remember what I said about knife fights with the empty hand. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to have the damn knife to your throat. Remember, criminals are not stupid. They're usually uneducated. They're usually not knowledgeable. They're usually not of any less intelligence than you are. This is their career. This is what they do for a living. They know what they're doing. They're smart. They can think. And they're not going to assume that you're just a dumbass who's going to stand there and go, and then be surprised when you try and fight back. They're tense. They're expecting you to fight back. And as a criminal holding a knife to your throat, the last thing he wants to do is keep that knife up there where you can get at. That makes him feel exposed. Having a knife to your throat doesn't give me control. Stopping you from moving gives me control. So what are they going to do? Boom, hey, I've got a knife. I'm going to rob you. I've got the knife to your throat so you know it's there. Hey, look, here's the knife. What happens now? I'm going to move my empty hand to you, hold you there, and take this damn knife away from you. Back by my ribs, just like in any other knife fight where you can't get at. I'm holding you back now. You can't get at my knife. You can't get to this hand without me stabbing you. You get to this hand, your arms are up, I stab you. You go for the knife, I go for your face, stab you. You go for my face, block, block, blah, 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 slap, stab. Almost every single knife technique for killing people with knives is the 1-2 step. Slap, stab. It doesn't matter if they're attacking you or you're trying to defend yourself and they're fighting back. Slap, stab. It's incredibly hard to defend against. Virtually impossible, and I go into that bias of saying, think of it as impossible, because it's just that damn difficult. And one more thing that I never did talk about in my previous videos that is important. The other thing people with knives like to do is they like to control your weak arm. What your weak arm is if I'm right-handed and holding a knife, your weak side, the side I'm trying to kill you, your weak side is your left side, because my knife is in my right hand. My job and my goal, more often than not when trying to kill you with a knife, is to get at your left side. Because if I'm getting at your left side, I can get my right side in, blocking you, controlling your arm, checking you, and all that shit, and keeping your other arm as far away from my knife as possible. So what happens? You try and go for my knife hand with your hand or anything, and I manage to just slap your left hand away. Both your arms are now that way, and my knife is here, where you can't do anything to stop it. It's that dangerous to get your arms up. You bring your arms up to go for my knife at the throat, down, stab. You bring your arms out to the side, down, stab. Knives come around, arms pull back, arms pull away, empty hands work. It's never going to be 1-2, I slap your knife and you stand there while I wrench your arm out. That's why it's so fucking difficult to defend against knives in muggings. So, I have not gone into in-depth detail on the gentleman's techniques here. I'm going to do that in the next video where I actually demonstrate them with my brother. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a knife to my brother's throat and, oh no, check that, he's going to put the knife to my throat. And I'm going to try and execute the techniques this gentleman talked about without telling my brother what I'm going to do. My brother doesn't know about this yet. and we're going to see what he does and what happens. We're going to go full out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then we'll talk more about what goes on and why. So thank you very much for watching. I want to thank the gentleman who did send the link. If he sees this, I'm sorry if I'm rude about talking about your techniques the way I am, but I have to say again that I disagree with you on a fundamental level about the application of this. If you can convince me otherwise and you have a way of doing it, then by all means please do so. But until now, from what I've seen of your video and the techniques you showed, I am deeply, deeply suspicious of their merit, if not their validity whatsoever. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.